neck flexion, PAILs and rails. So flexion for the neck, I'll go sideways, this is flexion and that's extension. So we're going to do some neck flexion. One thing I'll point out is when we do neck flexions, the same as when we do our cat-cows, our segmental cat-cows, we're trying to flex and sort of lengthen and flex each one of the vertebrae. We're not just with our neck trying to kind of get my chin down to my chest, because that's really just bending at the bottom and I'm sort of cramping my neck. I want to elongate and flex. So anyway, I'm just going to lay down pretty simply. Lay down here. You're going to actively get as much flexion as you can, but in this case you're going to keep the crown or the base of your head, the back of your head here, keep it on the floor. So you're going to lengthen and keep it on the floor, and this is your flexion. So once again, we're not trying to do this here. So that's your sort of active range. You get to your passive range, you're going to get your thumbs underneath the base of your head here, get to that passive range, and then sort of just pull forward a little bit, and now we're in a stretch. You'll actually feel the front sort of cramps. It's kind of weird to talk, as you can probably hear. So for a PAILs and rails contraction, you're going to hold this stretch for 2 minutes, and then when the PAILs contraction comes, you're going to imagine that obviously you're not going to lift up. You're going to imagine trying to come into extension. But you're not going to be able to move. Once again, it's isometric because you'll have the floor in the way, but you're not pushing down. You're trying to sort of scoop back, but then your thumbs are holding there. So for the PAILs contraction, I'm holding here and I'm pulling back, trying to get out of this flex position. And then once the PAILs is up and you do the rails contraction, you're trying to actively get into more, and you'll hear my voice actually change here as I do it. Once again, I'm not trying to do this. I'm trying to get more extension and lengthening using the tissue in my neck. So the PAILs contraction is doing this, the rails contraction is doing that. So either way, you're going to have a 2-minute stretch, and then you're going to do the intensity that your program says on that day. You'll probably be starting fairly light, getting the tissue used to the movement way before you get to any really intense sort of intensities. But either way, super important to gradually build up. So you've had your 2-minute stretch, and then when you get to your PAILs, take a breath, pack, and then start just going 10%, 20, 30, 40, and then rails. Now you may very well have it just as a as a PAILs contraction. If that's the case, you're here, you're just doing the PAILs and then rest. PAILs and then rest. So yeah, you'll do your PAILs contraction, you'll rest for as long as you feel you need to, then do a second contraction. To make this more difficult, once you've been doing this for a bit, do exactly the same thing against the wall. So here, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to actively push my head against the wall as I lift it up. Honestly, I don't know why, but doing this against gravity makes this way more intense. PAILs. So anyway, there is your neck flexion, PAILs and rails. Go super gentle to start with, get used to it. Obviously, like anything else, if it hurts, don't do it. With that said, the real key here is trying to feel the tissue that controls that cervical spine, but most importantly, when you're doing that PAILs and rails contraction, or even when you're getting into position, thinking about elongating as you're flexing, as opposed to just sort of crouching in on yourself. Enjoy.